Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Canton. Today is Wednesday, August 14th, and today is day 313. I'm en route home for the first time since January. I'll be home for a few weeks, traveling, trying to take some time with my family. Moose is traveling with me. I'm in Seattle. But I wanted to give today's daily update. Last night, the U.S. State Department came out with a statement saying that the U.S. opposes Israeli Minister of National Security Ben-Gvir's visit to the Haram al-Sharif Temple Mount on August 13th, which demonstrated blatant disregard for the historic status quo with respect to the holy sites in Jerusalem. These provocative actions only exacerbate tensions at a pivotal moment when all focus should be on the ongoing diplomatic efforts to achieve a ceasefire agreement and secure the release of all hostages to create the conditions for broader regional stability. Prime Minister Netanyahu's office has made clear that the actions of Minister Ben-Gvir are inconsistent with Israeli policy, and we look to the government of Israel to prevent similar incidents in the future. The U.S. reaffirms our commitment to the preservation of the historic status quo and will continue to oppose unilateral steps that are counterproductive to achieving peace and stability that undermine Israel's security. According to Crisis Action, the State Department also yesterday notified Congress saying that it had approved a sale of 50 F-15 fighter jets to Israel for $18.82 billion. This is quite significant. This is actually a part of another thing that happened in the last 24 hours. This was communicated yesterday from the White House liaison to the Jewish community, who sent out a message saying that the President Joe Biden and Vice President Harris, that the U.S. had approved 5 potential foreign military sales cases worth approximately $20.3 billion to the government of Israel. These proposed sales would support Israel's long-term security by resupplying stocks of critical munitions and investing in long-term upgrades in compatibility. So, Crisis Action detailed some of those in saying that a sale of 50 F-15 fighter jets to Israel for about $18.82 billion. Israel would also buy nearly $33,000 tank cartridges, up to $50,000 in explosive mortar cartridges, and new military cargo vehicles. The F-15 aircraft, which won't begin being delivered until 2029, will upgrade Israel's current fleet and include radar and secure communications equipment. Josh Paul, who resigned from the State Department last year to protest the Biden administration's policies via Gaza, said that Israel has given the U.S. no reason to believe that it is moving away from its abject brutality. Authorizing billions of dollars in new arms transfers effectively provides Israel a carte blanche to continue its atrocities in Gaza and to escalate the conflict in Lebanon. That's a quote from Josh Paul to France 24. In Gaza, the IDF announced that the Nahal Brigade forces are operating in the Tel al-Satam neighborhood in Rafah, and that other combat teams are operating in the central part of the Strip and in Khan Yunis in the south. The Air Force attacked over 40 targets in Gaza over the last 24 hours. Palestinian health officials said that Israeli strikes across the Gaza Strip overnight into Wednesday killed at least 17 people, including 5 children and their parents. At a situation assessment at the Philadelphia corridor, which runs between Gaza and Egypt along the border, IDF Chief of Staff Halevi said that the military will be prepared to secure and monitor the area. If the government chooses to withdraw their forces from there, they will retain the possibility of attacking that area if need be. According to numbers from the health ministry in Gaza, the death toll is at least 39,965 Palestinians killed, 92,240 wounded since October. In terms of negotiations, this is a summary from Crisis Action. Mediators in talks for a ceasefire agreement between Hamas and Israel are making a last-ditch effort to revive the stalled negotiations. Last we'd heard Hamas was not going to go to those talks. The high-stake meetings set to take place on Thursday will have Qatar, Egypt, the U.S. present to plan to implement a ceasefire hostage deal. The deal is that which was proposed by President Biden in May, the 3-part deal. The urgency of the talks was highlighted by the mediators, who shared a rare joint statement last week. I read that during my daily update. CNN has said it was the final bridge proposal that those states said that they would help overcome the remaining sticking points. Hamas has asked mediators to present a plan to previous truce talks instead of attempting to find a new Gaza ceasefire deal. Sunday, Hamas's statement said the mediators should enforce the May proposal on the occupation of Israel, on Israel's occupation, instead of pursuing further rounds of negotiations or new proposals. Israeli media outlets are interpreting Hamas's statement as a rejection of the ceasefire talks altogether, but Al Jazeera has reported that's not the case. Details emerged today around the Gaza ceasefire swap negotiations. Under the draft agreement, there have been ongoing discussions between Israel and Hamas, and they're centered on a proposal that would see the release of 12 Palestinian prisoners for every Israeli hostage held by Hamas. Israel has agreed to release prisoners serving less than 30 years, but is seeking veto power on those who've served for or have sentences of more than 30 years. There are currently about 50 Palestinians in Israeli prisons, including the prominent Fatah leader Marwan Barghouti, who's serving sentences of over 30 years. Marwan has been described as some as the Martin Luther King Jr. of Palestinians. There's a Apple Plus documentary about his life that I'd really encourage you to watch. Others are serving over 30 years. Israel's demanding the right to veto the release of those individuals. Hamas is estimated to hold nearly 120 hostages, while other groups fighting against Israel and Gaza are also reported to have captives. It's not known how many are still alive. Senior Hamas officials told the Associated Press they will only participate if the talks focus on implementing the deal that was proposed by Biden in May. 5 senior rabbis, including Israel's former chief rabbi, Yosef, and rabbi of the Old City of Jerusalem, Nebenzal, condemned visits to the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex in a video that was published a day after Ben-Gvir's visit to the holy site. I call on the nations of the world, do not see those government ministers as representing the people of Israel. They do not represent the people of Israel. Please act to calm the spirits. We all believe in one God and one peace between the nations, and we must not let extreme fringes lead us, Yosef said in a video. I really want us to hear that there are people pursuing peace on all sides. So that was one of the chief rabbis of Israel. Crisis Action summarized the news regarding regional escalation. In parallel, US and Middle East diplomats have been mobilizing to dissuade Iran from launching an attack on Israel that could lead to a wider regional war. Both Iran and the US have said that the lines of communication between them are open through intermediaries, according to CNN. President Biden told reporters that he expects Iran to hold off on possibly attacking Israel if a Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal is reached in the next few days. The White House is concerned that if Iran and Hezbollah attack, it'll sabotage any negotiations. We've been hearing about this. US officials said that while the US and Israeli intelligence assessments indicate Iran has made military preparations for an attack on Israel, the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, still does not have final order to conduct the attack. Biden's senior advisor, Amos Hochstein, traveled to Lebanon Tuesday, and is expected to hold talks with Lebanese officials today to try to de-escalate the tensions with Hezbollah, which has threatened to respond to Israel's assassination of their top leader in Beirut a couple of weeks ago. Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader in Iran, has signaled he does not plan to submit to pressure, saying there's no non-tactical retreat. There are also reports of human rights agents with accompanying video of Israel shelling the outskirts of a town of Kunin in South Lebanon with white phosphorus. At a press conference after meeting Lebanese parliament speaker Berry, US President Biden's top Middle East envoy Hochstein said he believes a war between Israel and Hezbollah can be avoided. This is according to Haaretz. Hochstein said, we continue to believe a diplomatic resolution is achievable because we continue to believe no one truly wants a full-scale war between Lebanon and Israel. Air France has said that they plan to resume flights to Beirut tomorrow, Thursday, as long as the security situation remains calm. And the Washington Post reported this morning that Representative Ilhan Omar, Democratic from Minnesota, won her Democratic primary re-election yesterday and avoided the fate of her 2 colleagues in the squad who lost earlier this year after pro-Israel groups heavily targeted them. I wanted to let you know, one of our staff based in Jerusalem let us know about a situation in Machor, which is near Beit Jala. Beit Jala is a village next to Bethlehem. There are settlements in that area, and this weekend, one of our staff had attended a protest of the settlements there. The settlers had been settling in a Palestinian family's home, someone that we know. They kicked the Palestinian family out. Someone we know, so they started to feel very unsafe because the settlers had guns. The police and the military came and were supporting the settlers. They burnt a huge chunk of the mountain, which was one of the few places where there are very few green parts in the area. The Palestinian that we were in contact with went there with an Israeli friend and was saying that one of the settlers was also verbally sexually harassing one of the protesters. And then also last week, the Israeli military shot an American citizen in the leg when he was in the occupied West Bank in nonviolent support for Palestinians to raise awareness about the occupation. The wounded man and bystanders told Al Jazeera that the Israeli military shot at him, but the army said it was accidental, while the US State Department expressed concern. That was according to AJ Plus in a video report. And this is news you don't read about in the United States. In the first wholly new settlement in the West Bank since 2017, today, the Nahal Haletz settlement near Bethlehem in the Gush Etzion settlement block was officially approved today. And I'd encourage you to read about that. Peace Now wrote about it. It's been in the works since for years. That was approved officially today. The official Palestinian news agency Wafa reported that one man was killed in an Israeli raid in Tubas in the West Bank, and 4 others were killed in an Israeli drone strike in the nearby town of Tamun today. Israeli officials were struggling to assess how long the International Criminal Court intends to discuss the possible issuing of arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant. Official Israeli sources familiar with the details of the procedures and legal experts following the matter told Haaretz that diplomatic pressure is being exerted to delay the warrants. Updates on 2 cases of human rights abuses against Christians. I'll talk more about this in coming days, but we did meet with the mother of Leanne Nasser, Lulu Nasser, this last week. She will be detained until December 2024, and be in prayer for Shadi Hori, whose next case is coming up on September 9th. I'll talk more about that in the days ahead. Continue in our efforts towards calling for a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire. In the name of Christ, amen.